In the last movie, you learned how to remove the bullets or numbers from your lists by using the list style type property and giving it a value of none. Now we're going to learn how to approach that in a little bit of a different way, and instead of removing markers just to have a list of links without any marker, to insert graphics of our own styling into the navigation. First thing we're going to do is we're going to build up the navigation panel itself. And let's go ahead and take a look at this in the browser here. So we can see, again, list, the header, using the image replacement technique that we're so familiar with by now. Then I'm back in Dreamweaver. And again, you can be using whichever code editor you like. I know we keep repeating that, but it's a very important point to drive home because HTML and CSS can be written in any text-based editor. And that's just an important thing to remember because everybody likes to work differently. And if you're a professional or working in an environment where you're using CSS regularly, you may be using any number of different tools. So it's certainly a good idea to see different environments and work in different environments. But Dreamweaver serves our purposes for now with the snippets function, which is very nice. And I'm going to go ahead and use the snippets function to bring in the style for the unordered list. And here you'll see we've, again, zeroed out our margin, given it some padding, put a background into the image. And if we go back into Firefox, we see the same progress as we made in the last movie as the panel gets built. Back into Dreamweaver, and now let's see how to style that image using the list style image approach. Drop that on in. As you can see here now, instead of list style type, we've gone ahead and said list style image, and we've given it a URL to the path where our list item decorative image exists. This is our custom bullet, if you will. And you'll also note that we use list style type as well. Any comments there, Andy, on why we do that?
Yeah, I often find that it's worthwhile just duplicating that particular rule so that we use the custom image bullet as well as a standard text or HTML bullet, in this case with the circle, just for those instances where perhaps the image might not be available.
Exactly. So if for some reason, if images are off or not available, slow downloads or something like that, they're still going to get some semblance of the bullet that we're trying to create. Let's go ahead and save this, and we can flip on over to Firefox, do a refresh, and there, in fact, you see our images have now replaced the default browser styling bullets, and we have a very attractive, very customized navigation list. There is an alternative method for this because there's some concern with backward compatibility in browsers, and some people find, depending upon the browsers that they have to support, the list style image property doesn't work quite as consistently as they would like it to. This is not true of most contemporary browsers, but if you have any backward compatibility issues, you may want to consider using a little bit of a different approach. So we're going to go ahead and take this piece of code out, and then I'm going to show you how we might do this for a more backward compatible means of creating the same style. And in this case, you see that I've used the list style type, as we saw in the last movie, set to none. And then I have given it some margin and padding and then put the background element with the list. And you'll see that I've used the list item PNG, which is the custom bullets that I want to display. I've set them into the background of the list item elements. So if we save our file and hop on over to Firefox and give it a refresh, again, you get the same results with perhaps a better backward compatible, more cross-browser specific display. It's up to you which one you want to choose. I personally haven't run into many problems using list style image, but it really depends on your browser base. There are a couple of references that I want to show you that can really help you with this. One of my favorite sites is w3schools.com. You could pretty much learn all of the fundamentals of HTML, XHTML, CSS, and many other web design related topics here. They do a very good job of making things very simple. So right here, I'm taking a look at the list style type property, and you actually can now see, if we look at the value here, we covered none and disk and circle and square and decimal. But there are a lot others that you can use depending upon what you're trying to do, including markers for different languages, which comes into play for those of you creating multilingual websites or working on websites that are written in different languages. We also have a resource for the list style image property, and this shows you the way to implement list style images. And as you can see, just as we had in our example, we have both in use, the image and the type in use sort of as a backup there. So again, if we go back to our original code here, you'll see that very minimal amount of CSS and a minimal amount of markup really to get a very attractive and useful panel there. And that then can go anywhere on the page that we need it to go, and we'll show you how to move these things around in later movies.